over there, but this is part 2 of a 4-part series. Okay, it's a part 2 of a 4-part series, and like I said, yesterday we did part 1, which was Nibiru, is it coming? And then we got part 2 tonight, which is the return window of Nibiru. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. we'll have part 3. Will the Earth shake? And then part 4 on Thursday at 8. We will be doing that, and then the after show, we're going to go into uncensored and why they took this guy out, for telling us that Nibiru, and he gave the proof. So for any of you people that are trying to figure it out, is it any truth in what he was saying or anything else? And so we will just kind of go from there. All right, so let's get into the whole conversation about Planet X was confirmed, then buried, and then the evidence. They just can't erase it, right? And so I watched some of the patterns. I've done this before. I've announced it, confirmed it, then they erased it. And like I said before, in 1983, they called it Planet X. In 1984, they buried the data when it came out. And so the question isn't if they saw it, it's why they worked so hard to make you forget it. And we're talking about this black planet, this Planet X, the red planet, Nibiru. And as you saw yesterday, we talked about a lot of these things that they were saying. All right. And Yo-Yo says she was on Forbidden Knowledge. Diane, welcome, welcome, welcome. Joy, just Joy, and all of you that came over. Great. Flame as well. All right. So the whole point I'm saying is that there's a lot of data that they have been saying when it comes down to this. And it's just kind of one of these things of what's happening. Why are they blocking it out? And like I said, we're going to go through Nibiru all this week, because there's a lot of stuff been happening. I played the clip yesterday of people reporting that they're seeing this. And this has been going on a few years, but it's been really heavy lately as they go down the rabbit hole from there. Once again, though, we have been trained to believe, of course, if Nibiru was real, NASA would have told us, right? They would have told us about that. And of course, astronomy, you start talking about is peer reviewed, science is self-correcting, and there's no way something that big could be hidden, but they're doing everything they can to make sure it's hidden. That's exactly what they're doing. And they're not wasting no time trying to put that together when it comes down to it. And I get it. I totally get it. I get why they're trying to make that happen in every way that they're doing it. However, once again, but the actual record, and I'll reiterate, in 1982, go look it up. NASA, if you can find it, NASA published a statement about a mystery object affecting planetary orbits. They talk about this all the time, and or they talked about it a great deal. And I know in 1982, a lot of you probably was like, of course I was a young, 12-year-old bull growing, and at this point, but in 1983, infrared astronomical satellite RAS system picks up a massive celestial body on the outer fringe of the solar system. And that's where it all began. This is where all of this stuff began when they started this. But major media, you're talking about the Washington Post at the time, the New York Times, they all briefly reported it, and then it went out of here. So that makes a lot of sense. So when we start thinking about now, as we come back to why we're not seeing a lot of it. But again, I said it before, a lot of people feeling a lot of things, and we'll cover this the rest of the week, tomorrow, Thursday, and then, all of this. It's Nibiru week. So again, go back and watch yesterday's if you didn't at 8 o'clock. But there's also the scientific record that was totally sanitized. I mean, they do this all the time. They sanitize these records. They do it very quickly. They make sure people just don't even find out what's happening. And so we're going to dig a little deeper because there's more to it. And I'm going to go into it now. Every astronomer who pushed forward on Nibiru, they were silenced, they was reassigned, or they're no longer with us, and that is something serious, because Robert Harrington, U.S. Navy Observatory, he publicly supported the idea of Planet X. He mapped out the probable orbit, everything. He was preparing a global alert. He was going to tell the world, and suddenly he's gone. And it was like a rapid cancer is what they said, something that just took him really quick. His research and everything is locked away. And like I said before, Thursday in the private area, We're going to talk about everything deeply, some vivid language of what happened to him, because in what he said and what he was telling us about Nibiru that we're not seeing here, because there are just things that we never know how they feel about it now, right? In most cases. But anyway, now here's where things took an unexpected turn. The Vatican, if you got to remember, after all of this, I mentioned a little bit about it yesterday, installs Lucifer. And then we all kind of know what Lucifer is, but the Vatican, why would they associate themselves? But they put a telescope together, or whatever the system was called, Lucifer, which is an infrared telescope. It's in Arizona. Okay. The Vatican's telescope is in the United States. Go figure. Okay. And it's pointed exactly where the RAS was that detected the object. So Lucifer, the satellite system, is now in Arizona, and it is pointing directly where that other one was. Why is the question. I've always told you, your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. You got to ask why, because the Vatican says that they think it's something there, because the optical telescopes can track cold bodies like Nibiru. Well, let me back up. I mispronounced that. The regular telescopes cannot detect, okay, because they're optical telescopes, so they can't track cold bodies like Nibiru. Infrared can, and the church wanted to see what NASA was no longer allowing people to mention. And so they had enough money, so we're just going to send our own stuff over there. Why not? They got the money, they can do it, and they did it when it came down to there. Therefore, one of the things that we have to look at is that you've been taught to not even mock the 10th planet, but we have 10 planets, right? And of course, we all grew up with the 9. And of course, they spotted all kinds of stuff, but behind the ridiculous truth that they have, they found it, they studied it, they silenced every outlet that they could connect the dots. And if they was tracking it in infrared silence, then the return isn't a question of, it's a question of how soon. And this is why we titled the video tonight, Planet X confirmed, they buried it, the evidence they can't erase, because it's out there. And I've said it before, we're not talking about Nibiru's here tomorrow, but there are some people say it's already here, and just the fact that we're not spiritually inclined enough to see it, right? Or it's getting close enough. And I showed you videos in part 1 yesterday of a guy that had the red sun, and some people say, hey, it was because of smoke in Canada. So there's a lot of theories out there. But again, when you start hearing the word on the street, which we call it our conspiracy, I'll keep saying that until one day I want. But when you hear the word on the street, it's undeniable. It's very undeniable when things come out that way. So it's worth listening and looking at in a more deeper fashion, I should say, when it comes down to that. But the question, like I said, who controls? Who is in control of this? And we can say NASA and the Vatican or elite astronomers. How do they control the situation? They suppress the data, they redirect, they research, they fund all this disinformation when it comes to Nibiru. And it's a whole gig that they're doing when they do this. And I think the whole point is we want to know who's on this thing. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about who rides this destroyer. That's what they call it. Supposedly when it comes, it causes all these cataclysms and all of these different things out there, floods and pole shifts and all that. So who's in it? Who's in it knowing when it shows up, it's going to cause an issue. Now, we were told that Nibiru was a rock, and we know that's not it. But what if it's a throne? Remember, okay? And I'm speaking that in a more general term. What if it's a throne? What if the people, now, of course, we can go back to the Anunnaki stories. All right, we're going to say this. Oh, and there's people say that there are brown-skinned people, all right, or whatever. And I'm not saying that, but I do believe that they have some lizard skin or whatever you want to call it, because I read all that all the time. But what I'm saying is this. We do know that they're saying, hey, maybe they're connected to Enlil, Inky, or the originals, or maybe there are some that got left behind, remember? And there's just so many stories behind it. But the problem is that most people don't believe that it's been here before, and it has caused destruction. And so therefore that lends us to go, what happened to all these other civilizations? And I repeat that constantly, because that's a question that we should be asking ourselves when it comes down to this. Now, could it be a traveling empire that returns not just to pass, but to rule? And I said it because one of the things about fear is that if you start thinking about it, you think of the fear of all these other people that are hidden, right? And the things that they're not supposed to be doing. I mentioned it before that we're supposed to be a project planet here. There's a lot of off limits. There's supposed to be galactic federations and all these people protecting planet Earth. And doing that, then that's supposed to happen. And so if that's the case, they may not like what's happening here when the return happens, and people not wanting it to happen. But I am talking about the Anunnaki, the so-called gods of the ancient world who never died. They just left. And some say they're still here. And at the moment they return, they reclaim what they seeded. We do know that they supposedly have altered the human DNA. We've heard those stories, that our DNA been altered 61 times. If you go back to the Anunnaki, Enlil, or Inky stories, they didn't create man. They created an atom, but they didn't create man because we were already here. Remember that, right? Because that's what the sister said, Anu, or whatever her name was. She says, what you seek is already here, when they were saying we need to create the slave race. They just altered the DNA so we can procreate and all those things. So there was a lot of the stuff here, supposedly, before they got here and to make a slave race for the gold. And so now they may be coming back to finish the rule. That's what they're saying. But the mainstream archaeology says that the Anunnaki was Mesopotamian gods, symbolic, poetic, and ritualistic. So not really real, but the Sumerian said there was something else entirely. So we have two different stories. If the Anunnaki was fictional, then there's nothing for us to worry about, right? So, okay, it ain't nothing happening. It's just a fictional story. But what if they were real, though? And I'm not saying that they're not, but I'm only posing questions because I want you to think about what I'm talking about. But what if they were real, and then everything we know about our origin story is false at some point? And if they're returning on Nibiru, as the tablets have described, then we're on the brink of a reunion, a real reunion, when that time's happen. And like I said, it explains almost this emphatic way of them trying to get off planet. Remember, they already got a program where they got people that are being conditioned to go reseed Mars and everything else. And it's a one-way mission. They go read about it. They got a lot of people that volunteered for it, people that's going and all of this stuff to start a colony on Mars and all this stuff. But once again, let me tell you a secret most people don't know. And I'm not saying you don't know it, but a lot of people don't know. The Sumerians 5,000 years ago described Nibiru as a red planet with elliptical orbit inhabited by the Anunnaki, a technological advanced race. Now, let's get into some of the details, though. The beings, like I said, supposedly altered human DNA to create a workforce, the Homo sapiens, if we get more technical. The ancient tablets even show tools resembling medical devices suggesting genetic engineering. So we've heard all these kind of stories. Not everybody has heard this. Some people will hear this for the very first time. Especially if they are in the CHURCH, and that's just where they reside, they're going to hear it all the time that way. And that's just pretty much what they're going to get. And we'll do that. One thing about it is that we have to think about their leader, Enki, was described as the god of water, okay? And often tied to spacefaring symbolism. You're talking think the abyss, the void, the deep. And remember, I if you ever see me wear my protection symbol, I had 2 fish on it. And fish is the symbolism, and water is the place that secrets are hidden. This is why we have the owl. We do all these things because water is the place. Water was the one place at one point in time that humans could not go without some type of apparatus. So it was the perfect place to still hide civilizations and things that we can't see because we just can't walk in there. And today we got, devices, though, but back in the day, we just didn't. And here's where it gets a little interesting when we go deeper into this Anunnaki week or Nibiru. I'm not going to say Anunnaki, Nibiru week. And like I said, we own video 2, part 2. We did part 1 yesterday, part 3 tomorrow, part 4 Thursday. And then in the back channel, we'll do why they took the guy out who exposed all of it. Okay. And we'll go deeper into that as we continue one of those things. One of the things was this. They said that modern scientists now theorize that the large exoplanet with internal heat sources could support life inside, not on the surface. So there's life in the inside, which makes perfectly good sense why we look into so much stuff that, hey, you know what? We're going to live in the ground. Remember the bunkers, underground cities. It's like that is supposed to be maybe the perfect place to be instead of on this ever shifting side of this beauty that we have grown known to see. Now, Nibiru, with its mysterious gravitational pull, which is a massive magnetic field, and ancient references could sustain a hollow interior. And also, they're saying that it's a mobile fortress for the Anunnaki elite. Do you remember Star Wars? And what was the main thing that was coming? They call it the Death Star. It was like this big planet. And it's kind of crazy when you think about that, the Death Star and all that stuff. But, again, movies do a lot of those things, and they do that. So when you start thinking about a lot of this modern day cover-ups, when you look into it, the CIA, you're talking about the DOD, they all funded remote viewers have allegedly described structures on incoming celestial bodies. So we'll go into that on Thursday, I think, the psychic side of it, but they use remote viewing for everything these days. They use remote viewers because this is real stuff, right? And they use these remote viewers for a little bit of everything when it comes down to it. So it is something I think that each of you should really look into. But the black budget observations track Nibiru, but classifies data under deep national security clearances. Why do they do that? Like I said, they can speculate anything. And when they want to say it's national security, they don't want us to know or whatever it is, man, that's exactly what they do. And that's how they do it. That they will tag national security on any and everything that they can that they do not want us to know. And so it's kind of weird once you start, not weird, but it's just the way they roll when they do this. The Vatican has held multiple conferences on extraterrestrial life since 2009. And why now? And they're doing it even more every day now. Remember of last year, or was it the year before, they called most of the religious scholars from around the world, and they had a meeting. And the meeting was all about if the extraterrestrials begin the process of showing up, then we're going to say that, God is their God too. Jesus is their Lord too, because or however they want to put it, they just going to say, hey, we all serve the same God, or they want to keep the storyline going, and in all those things. So go look it up. They talked about it because there were a time that the Israeli prime minister or whoever he was over their space program a few years ago, right before Trump got in office the first time, he said that the extraterrestrials were saying that it is time for them to reveal the truth, or it's time for them to expose and everything else. And if you know my DNA of history of what I do, I'm a certified UFO investigator, been on 8, 9 different 10, 11 TV shows, Ancient Aliens, Discovery Channel, Amazon, HBO, Apple TV, all of this, doing, parts as an expert on UFOs and aliens. And so my background is thus though. So I do get some information that I can share with you that we do that. But let's continue down this Nibiru road because it's important. It really is. And I want you to imagine this though. The Anunnaki didn't abandon Earth. They didn't just say, okay, we're just going to abandon Earth. They installed bloodlines. All right. And I'm not going to go there. You know where I go with the bloodlines. You know how I map it all the way up to where it goes. And so we hear the term the blue bloods and all of this, you know that exists, right? We talk about it. And so all of this stuff is connected. Nibiru, Anunnaki, those people and all of those things, they're all connected. And they left their symbols and stuff too, right? And we talk about they seeded the control system, waiting for a signal to return. And those are the things that we have to look. And again, this is why you got to be luminous. I've been telling them, we only have a few of these left. And the people who got them, I just want to thank y'all. But you can find it on the website. But if you want free shipping or whatever, and you want to hear from me personally, I'll call you and thank you and get your address and stuff. Then you're welcome to, definitely, go here and Cash App. There we go right there. I'll just put it on the screen real quickly. And and include your name and telephone in the notes, and then I'll call you back personally, and we'll continue down that. Now, we're not alone. We never were. And let me repeat that again. We're not alone. We never were. Nibiru is inhabited and returns regularly, and then every 3,600 years, Earth becomes a reset station. This is the part that I think we should think about. We just think about all those floods in history and all of the tablets and all the stuff that they talk about, the cataclysms and the Great Deluge and all of this stuff, because Earth becomes a reset, not only for power, for blood, and for ownership. These are three things. This is why they seeded it before they left. And at this time, the slaves aren't digging gold. In fact, we can defend ourselves. That's the challenge. That's the real challenge. And they're scrolling screens too, the slaves are, and they're feeding data into the hive. Sometimes we think all these little technical advancements is something that, is for our own help, but some of this stuff is what they use to control the system and all of this stuff. And sometimes we just don't see it. And the Anunnaki was worshipped as gods. And we should now start to figure it out that maybe they wasn't gods, right? And again, they're an advanced civilization. But gods don't leave for no reason. And that's something that I think a lot of people, we can go biblical, God would never forsaken the whatever, but you know what I'm saying? These people left and they're coming back because this is what their plan was, or however it is. So they left because they got a planned return every 3,600 years. And when they do, you will recognize the system that they built in their image. Man, I just said some shocking stuff. Oh, I know I just said some shocking stuff, and I said in their image, right? You can go. We're not going to go biblical. We're not going to do that. We're not going there. We're not having church here. We're not doing that. We're not saying let's make man in our image and the likeness of ourselves. We're not saying that, okay? However, they plan their return, and they will do this, and you will recognize the system, okay? You will. And the thing about it is, and I've said it again about the control system, because the Anunnaki, genetic architects of early man. They're the genetic architects of early man, all right? They're not the gods that I will say that created us. We should know that, right? But hey, we were altered. I used to raise, exotic birds, and I created all types of mixed species all the time. We would cross this one, especially when they did the dog species. You have this type of species crossed with this species, and now you got poodles and lapsadoodles and doodle list and whatever they are. People claiming all kinds of dogs. There was people sell, I had a pet store and we would sell all these exotic poo-poo and mixed with, Yorkie poos and all this. And then one time I had, purebred poodles. Nobody wouldn't buy them until I put an ad in the paper and said, I got poo-poos. And people were like, you got a poo-poo? What's that? The mama's a poodle and the dad is a poodle. And they bought them. They didn't even get it, right? But when I said poodles, no, but poo-poo or Yorkie poo and all that, man, they was buying them dogs like it ain't crazy. Anyway, they control us through manipulated bloodlines. And I said that, methodical disarmament and elite secrecy. This is the game plan that they've been doing because they left the system behind. There were some left behind, and they still here, and they've been here. And the reason they blend in is because it's not because we want to know what they look like. It's because we look like them. And it's easy for somebody that we look like to go by us, and we don't know who and what it is. Is that not possible? Am I just saying something? Let me know in the chat. Do anybody agree with what I'm talking about? And like I said, this is a part. Tomorrow we're going to go to part 3, 8 o'clock. And then Thursday we're going to go to part 4. And you can kind of check that out. And then we're going to go deeply into the uncensored. So you make sure you got access to the Patreon. But do y'all agree? I mean, what do y'all think when it comes down to this, when we're talking about those things? And the question is, what are they hiding? That's always the most important part. But Nibiru is not uninhabited. It is a throne. And it's the gods that are coming back to claim their own. That's just plain and simple. And like I said, I'm not saying they're here today. I'm not saying they're here tomorrow. And we think about 3,600 years. They could be 500 years away. But, at this point, will we be here? Some of you will. And pretty much. The question, I think, Flame says, do you think they're here? No, do you think they know? Well, of course, I'm sure they know. It's pretty much, but I think it's something pretty much from there. What we'll talk about is the timelines. We talk about it. The known for decades. They built underground cities while telling you to ignore the sky. They're doing it now. See, that's the sign that I think some people should go look into. They're building underground cities right now. They're doing it. Okay. And they're doing it because it's the greatest place for protection for some odd reason. Because if this thing comes into the orbit, it's the top half or the surface level, which would be flooding and all of this stuff, because it has happened in all of historic biblical things that you can go find. They all talk about it. It's everywhere. The water becomes everywhere. And that is something for us to look into when they do that. Now, they building these cities, again, while they're telling us to ignore what's in the sky, but they're planning for what? What is the question? And again, I've always tell you how and why is the most important part. We know how they're doing it. They're digging holes. But why is the most important thing for us to find out and for us to look into to get to a point where why this Nibiru stuff is so important. And like I said, you start checking social media, there Nibiru. It's everywhere. They're talking about it's everywhere. And so, again, it's worth for us to find out and to understand what is truly happening when it comes to this and pretty much. And I think it's something that, again, they think a lot of people just don't pay attention to. But we were told that the future is uncertain. Nobody knows the Nibiru or when it's going to arrive, accordingly. They just know we're into this time. And they could say, that it's all speculation. And I'm saying this is what they're telling us. They're saying nobody knows when it's going to come. This is how they do it. It's all speculation. The sign doesn't confirm anything. Relax. It's not real. And they act like nobody knows. But according to the research, though, and the word on the street, and you know what I mean when I say the word on the street. Y'all know that, right? According to the word on the street, there's multiple sources, scientific, psychic, military, have independently pointed out the early 21st century as the return window. There was a big rumor 2 years ago that something was happening in 2025, this year. Dr. Greer, a lot of people, it was this big thing, right? Y'all remember? Go back and look at some of the old videos that this is supposed to be the year. So I don't know. I think it's just something that we have to take in consideration, but that's what they've been talking about. Planetary disturbances and solar solar problems. In other words, y'all know my grammar word. I was pronouncing the word, but anyway, have been increasing since the 2000s. I'm going to go try to even butcher it, but it's just saying things are not regular. How about that? Irregularities. That's the word. But anyway, use the grammar box. Correct it in the grammar box. Even NASA, recent shift toward planetary defense. And the question is, why now? Why is NASA doing this? Why are they now? See, everybody is, and remember, we are reactivating space programs. This has just recently happened. They claim it. We need to protect ourselves from onboard missiles from other countries. But we have a whole we had something called Star Wars back in the 80s, and this was supposedly to protect us from other countries. Now they're turning this stuff around. It's a whole different story. So they're preparing whatever, and why not? And like I said, they're building these bunkers, and we're going to build a bunker. We all got to build a bunker. And so the question I would ask you, if Nibiru was a fiction, why do the government timelines shift in the early 2000s? Everything starts shifting around about that time. So go back and start looking, do your own research, and you will see the shift of information, the data, the government, their actions, their plan, their budgeting. Everything began to take a shift around the 2000s. And it was like, Now, we already know at that time we had, 2012, the calendar, Mayan calendar was going to stop. And remember, there was all kinds of events that was coming at that point. But if nothing is coming, then why are the global elites accelerating underground shelter development? Go research right now. They are building. In fact, there was a video I found on Instagram with an ex-government official. He said they got a building underground for everybody that's supposed to be in a position of power. They got everything. They got everybody got these shelters and stuff. And like I said, we go back, we know Jay-Z and Beyonce, a lot of these people, she bought what? They paid for one of the most expensive houses in California. This thing was dead ugly, but it had a bunker, a massive underground bunker. And that's where the value was, right? That's where the value was. And of course, land and all that, but that's where it was. So the other question is why they're removing documented scientific anomalies from public databases. They've been doing that for quite some time. So that is something worth for us to look at, and we got to look at it and go all across the board. But listen, here's the deal. The truth comes through the cracks or whatever. We know that, right? So wait until you hear what happened afterwards. So let me go into it right now. Independent astronomers have tracked unusual orbital disruptions. Start looking it up right now. There's a lot of independent astronomers. Now, I'm seeing Robert Harrington, which I talked about earlier. We'll talk about, Thursday night. This guy spilled the beans. And of course, they took him out of here. But a lot of other people are starting to say some stuff too. Whistleblowers are claiming that a brown dwarf with trailing moons is on a 3,600-year path. Remember that recently they reported that somebody saw a brigade coming, and supposedly we all went to this alarming system. And I think they was doing all kind of stuff, but that also could be what the scientists are saying, that there was a dwarf moon or dwarf planet trailing with these moons or different, could be other spacecraft, and it's coming this way, and they said it before, and you can find it if you dig deep into the internet. You will find some of this stuff. When it comes to that. Some believe that this object is already visible in the deep southern skies, but heavily censored online. This is why you only see people in certain places that are claiming that they're seeing this near sunset or different places. Depending on where we are in the southern skies or where you are, northern, or you could be eastern or western, you may not be able to see what you see these people are filming. And because we're not in the right orbital position, depending on the day and time the Earth is in some of these other places, which we know day here is night there, evening here is morning there. So obviously the timing is a little different, and we probably would never see it if we're in an area of the United States that is never facing that way. You get what I'm saying, at the time that it's going. So that could be always the answer. If you say, well, how come I don't see anything? Well, we may not be in the right position to do so. Once again, that's worth looking into. It's worth for us to look into. And if you're here for the very first time, please right now hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to the channel. Roderick Martin here. Watch some of the other videos. Watch part 1 yesterday. This is part 2, and we're going to do part 3 tomorrow, and part 4 Thursday, and behind the scenes and stuff. So go ahead and take the time right now. Subscribe to the video. Or to my channel here, I would say, so that we can continue to grow and continue to get the word out the way we need to, and everything else. Now, here's the kicker. Ancient civilizations gave us a clock. So go look this up. They gave us a clock. They always leave clues. Our ancestors have always left clues through symbolism, you name it. They gave us a clock. The Mayans, the Sumerians, the Egyptians, each warned of cycles. Every last one of them. Go find and do your research. The Mayans, the Egyptians, the Sumerians, everybody warned this thing. And how would they know? Because they know. Maybe somebody told them. The cycles that culminate is in a global reset, and the cycles that end in arrival. They all talk about a global reset, and then they talk about when this thing arrives. And Zachariah Ascension, the 12th planet, go get his book. He goes really deep into this. Now, the contention, like I said, where we get thrown off a little bit is that people think Nibiru is a bunch of black folks coming. I've heard that many times. I'm not saying that. But they go, oh, yeah, it's the brothers. And they're coming back. It's the black planet, Planet X. It's just so many rumors that it has. But one thing for certain, it's coming. And who's in it? I think it's some people that has scaly skin. That's what I think. That's my interpretation of it. And hopefully I'm wrong, And like I said, I don't even try to call the names out anymore. They block every time I say it. So, Y'all know what I'm talking about, though. It is something to think about it. But the question is, could the sky be telling a story that we've been trained to ignore? See, we talked about this prison planet. We talked about people seeing the I forget what they call it in the skies. We get, like, again, psychics. We got people feeling it in their bones. People feeling it, every day. Like I said, a friend, he was just talking. He works out. He does all this stuff, and he's just like, man, I just haven't been feeling. And like I say, I know he's not into this content, so I didn't want to discuss it with them and be like, man, there's this red planet thing that's happening and all this kind of stuff. But what happens when these cycles sync with modern tech, warfare, and global AI control? That's the alarm that I want to kind of get into, because this is where it gets really transhumanism, deeply rooted into AI, all the manipulation of stuff, the alleged of control. It gets really point. Now, I'm not trying to post any fear, so don't know how to be afraid. Like I said, we probably won't even be here. We'll probably be gone. But Thursday, we're going to talk about preparation. So you write that in a bottle and put it in a note and leave it to your next generation. And I've always said it, make sure you buy seeds. I've said it before, collect seeds. I don't know, you may not have to worry about Bitcoin. Collect seeds today. Put them up. Put them in a vault. Put them somewhere where your great-great-grandkids can have some seeds, because that's another thing. When there's all this stuff coming, they can't grow shit. And Montecito and all these people are controlling seeds. That's why everything is seedless grapes. See, they don't want people to be able to grow nothing in the future. They want to control that. But you can buy all the seeds you want right today, and I guarantee they're going to be worth a gazillion bucks, or a humanitarian effort for the future, so that you can just eat off of Mother Nature like we was intended to. So I'm telling you now, buy some seeds. Y'all heard me say it. Okay. All right. So, you may not have $1 million to leave your kids. You may not have wealth in the next third generations, but I guarantee you leave some seeds, you're going to be talked about. You're going to be the great whatever. You're going to be one of the best thought leaders in the family, because you saw it coming. Okay. Remember, I told you that. Get you some seeds. All right. And I'm talking vegetable seeds of everything. Bill Gates already was doing it. He spent gazillion bucks on building a seed harvesting place and supposedly collect every seed you can think of on the face of this earth. Do it. We're talking vegetables, plants, things that we can consume. Somebody says, the website is it's up now. You can go there. I put it back up today, Frank. So it's Truth versus Authority. .store or whatever. So moderators, if you can put that in the chat, that'll be good. All right. Anyway, but Truth versus Authority, not the Wild Big Secret. I'm converting everything over to Truth versus Authority .store. And you can go there right now, and pretty much. And let me know if you do, and then I'll give you a shout out. But anyway, listen, if you think the countdown starts when you see Nibiru, then you already missed it. That's the problem. People trying to see it, to think about it. The systems are already in place. See, they already enforced the space denial. They already got the data blackouts. They already discrediting language to mock the observers. The plan has already been initiated. You get what I'm saying? Right here in plain sight. They're doing that stuff, when it comes down to it. But this isn't waiting. This is management. They're trying to manage the narrative, and they are managing your perception of time. And that's the best way to get people to not understand stuff, is to manage the way we see time. Because again, when you start thinking 3,600 years, you're like, okay, fine. But what if it's a little different? And what if they doing time travel or something? You know what I'm saying? What if it's a little different? And so it's worth us looking and going down those thoughts of stuff from there, because what if the arrival isn't a single day, but a psychological slow drip that's happening? You get what I'm saying? So we think it's just going to pull up and go, Nibiru's here. But what if it's a psychological drip? Because remember, it's happening. We have linear time of what we're doing. We got linear time of what we think we know, right? Because we're 100 years maybe, right? But if you start thinking about it, even the extraterrestrials, they live a lot longer. They're in centuries, decades, or we're decades, but they're in centuries and centuries, of living. And so what we see, and then some cases a year to us, or 100 years to us could be 1 year to them. You know, I read that in a lot of books and alien books and stuff. So our conception of time is totally different. No, Amaya, that Why the Big Secret site does not work. So we'll take that off if you can. And it's not that website. So it's going to be truthversusauthority.store. Yeah. All right. So it's the truthversusauthority.store. All right. So yeah. So what I'm saying is, what if the goal isn't to hide Nibiru's existence, but to make you too numb to care when it appears? So in other words, they can block all this stuff and be like, okay, we don't care. You know, nobody really cares when it appears because they don't want to know. You know, they really don't want to know, and they do real good to make that happen for us, right in plain sight, like I said, and they're able to block these things, and they're really good at that when they do that, pretty much. So it's something that you can go through from there and really do it. Listen, who's framing this though? That's and I keep saying it because you're talking about, it's not just one group of people doing it. We're talking global scientific institutions, black budget programs, elite bloodline legacy controllers. And I know when we say this in the same breath, it's hard for people to think military and it's beyond military. We're talking multinational corporations now, right? We're talking, you know, these global companies and the World Health, you know, these are bigger than just the United States of America. We're talking, there's a conglomerate of things that are working bigger in a top. And, you know, and then when you go back to what we talk about our bloodlines, if you go back to some of my videos, 13 bloodlines, they come from all over the world, the Lees, the different families, you know, and these supposedly go all the way back to those green people that I'll be talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Blink, blink. And if you blink, you'll know what I'm talking about. All right. So these things go there. And so why do these oldest bloodlines buying land far from coastlines near magnetic nodes? Go look it up. Real estate away from water. Everybody's trying to buy oceanfront property, but these people getting the freaking away from the water. They know this. And they're going to magnetic nodes land. They're going to line themselves up magnetic. Go look up articles. You will see it. You will see it because you can't see it now, but it goes unnoticed. It goes unnoticed. These people they have a plan that is out of this world when it comes down to this stuff. All right. And we don't see it because we just don't see it. We're still dreaming for oceanfront property when we might need to go get a hilltop on a mountain. Be like, hey, baby, I'm sorry. I know I promised you some water, but up here on this hill, may just be the best spot. You know, and they're doing it. And another part is, why does the Vatican possesses the most advanced space monitoring tech on Earth? These people got better technology than NASA. The Vatican got better technology monitoring space than NASA. They got more money than NASA. You know that, right? They can probably control it. So money can get you anything you want. You know, we know that. Now, don't get me wrong. I know money ain't everything. I know a lot of money ain't everything. It ain't about money. And I agree with you. Money ain't everything, okay? However, conjunction, junction, what's your function? However, are rated right up there with oxygen. So it ain't everything, but I rated right up there with oxygen. Do I get a hoo-hoo for that? You know what I'm saying? Let's go with it. All right, so when we think about time distortion, ridicule programming, astronomical disinformation, and fear rerouting, the question is, are we being trained to laugh at the warnings so that we never prepare for it? It's like the boy who cried wolf. It's like they let all this stuff out and then they debunk it. They let it out, then they debunk it. They let it until we began to not listen to it anymore. It goes numb. You see, the UFO people did that to us already. See, when I was in the UFO world, and that's all I talked about, the greatest thing was there was something flying around that we don't know what it is. And the government or the big secret keepers hid this for eons. They fought it. They didn't want nobody to know. All of a sudden, they flipped the script this last few years called disclosure. They now said, okay, we're going to get them Because see, we don't spend so much time as ufologists and everything else in conspiracy saying, don't believe him, Bernard, don't believe him, Bernard, the government is lying. Then they come out and say, oh, no, there is something flying around. And now he's like, I ain't believing that. And it's like they did it on purpose. So now they flipped the script. And now they're putting it out there. We had drones. We had all kinds of stuff in the skies that rattled everybody up. Now if you see a drone, you're like, oh, okay. You know, you get what I'm saying? Oh, people don't even care about UFOs anymore. They want to now speak to an alien. They want to know what kind of underwear you're wearing or who is God. You get what they move the meter now. And they did it on purpose by desensitizing the public when they did this. It was a very good strategic plan, and it worked. And they doing the same thing with Nibiru. They're bringing it out, or it's science fiction, is this. So they let the real stuff sneak out in the middle, and then they cover it with so much other crap that you begin to say no. But you feel that shit, though. You get what I'm saying? That's what they can't change. You feel it. You know it. In fact, Yaya mentioned it yesterday, and I'm going to play her clip a little bit again now about what we feeling. And if you missed it, I'm just going to play a little bit of it right now. And she talked about it. Let's go.
Y'all miss me? Because I'm back. I definitely been seeing all them videos y'all been tagging me in of that red sun. But most importantly, I've been feeling it too. Have y'all? I know that red sun ain't just no sunset, right? That's a soul signal. If you tapped in even a little bit, you know, you feeling it too. It's Nibiru's energy creeping through that veil, baby. Pretty sure if we was to look it up, it would say some shit like it's from the fire smoke or the atmospheric particles. Nah. This is cosmic movement. This is the crossing, because planet Nibiru is known as the planet of the crossing. But what do you know? The cross, once again, they call it that because it don't just cross through the sky, it crosses through dimension. It shakes illusions, it scrambles old programs and some people's brains. I'm telling y'all, just pay attention to who crashing out right now. Activates the part of your DNA or RNA that modern science might not even acknowledge. So you've been tired lately? Your dreams been feeling too real? Having random pressure in your heart or your head? I'm talking about out of nowhere. That's because that's light code work being done. What that means is your melanin or neuromelanin for people who look like me. Yes, there is a difference. Your bloodline and crystalline structure are all receiving. This is another reason why you have a lot of people transitioning off of this realm right now, because they're not matching the frequency of where the earth is rising to, and it's just going to continue. That red sun is not just shining, it's remembering, and it's seeing all. This is not just about astrology or astronomy. This is literally ancestral prophecy. I do.
All right. So there you go. And you can hear a lot of more things if you go to her Instagram, and she talks about it. But again, she'll be here on the show pretty soon. And she's been here we did a show before, if y'all go check it out. And then we do plan on doing some real deep, hard stuff in our private area as well, you know, in the uncensored world. And pretty much, but I'm saying this is things that is going on. And so once again, you know, how many end of the world movies are we seeing that was created to make us associate the truth with fiction? They doing it all the time. You know, again, they just want you to try to go that route. And pretty much Levi say, like the logo, well, you might want to do this, man. Look at this. I got the luminous chains. Yeah, we got about 10 left. So anybody want one, you can go to the website now, Truth Versus Story, and order one, or it's a little cheaper, free shipping if you order directly through my Cash App, because then I'll call you personally and get your address. And this is the bomb. It means a lot. I'm telling y'all, it means a lot. We're not just making this stuff up, but go check it out. This is where you can get it right here. You can Cash App, and then I'll call you tomorrow. Put your number in. And address, I mean, not number, but your name and number in the notes. And then I'm going to call you right up, because once again, it's not a symbol, it's a bond. All right. You're initiated. You watch by none, but you're watching it all. So let's continue as we getting down here to where we are. What are they hiding? This is how we're going to tailor into tomorrow's live stream. The clock isn't broken. It's counting down, and they know it. The ancients warned of it, and you're just kept from seeing it tick. And so I'm going to leave you with a few questions. Are you living in the last act of the forgotten timeline? I ain't said the end of days, forgotten timeline. So make sure you heard me say this specifically. And when the sky turns red, will you remember or will you comply is the part that they think. And so as we get prepared for day 3 of this, which let me put it on the screen, day 3 will be the earth will shake, and we're going to go deeper into that tomorrow at 8 o'clock here tomorrow. And then on Thursday at 8 o'clock, we will go into the psychic window. And then, boy, we're going to get dirty in our uncensored area. If you haven't got a membership, get the all access pass in the Patreon. There's a link in the video, and we're going to tell you how they took him out and what he said. And when you hear what he said, then you're going to know a whole lot more than a lot of other people. Okay. And you will find this right here in the Patreon, and make sure you get the all access pass. Okay. So make sure you get that and then support the show and everything else. I'm going to leave you with a question. What if the greatest conspiracy wasn't hiding the return of Nibiru, but erasing your instinct to prepare for it? You get what I'm saying? Not trying to hide it, but they don't want us to prepare for it. And there's a reason for that. And I can't say that out loud. That last time I said those words, they shipped that video as soon as we got off live. And y'all know who I'm talking about. He even said it himself. But what if they don't want us to prepare for that very reason? Right? And they don't want us to prepare, but they are. They're preparing for it. Because when it comes, it's going to leave. It's not staying. It just does its rotation. And then there's a great reset. Okay? And so therefore preparation is everything. And maybe that's why they don't want the masses to prepare. You know, who cares? But it's worth for us to know that that's not going to happen, because we're going to always be prepared to do what we're doing. We're going to be prepared. And I'm saying that. So we'll say that. All right. So once again, I just hope that you got some value out of this hour tonight. And as we continue, it's going to get deeper and deeper as we go to day 3 and 4. And hopefully you got some value and you come back. And if you didn't, go back and watch day 1, which was last night. We did last night, and which I think is very important for you to do so. Go check it out and pretty much doing that. And so with that being said, I'm going to get ready to be prepared for tomorrow. And then Thursday, if you're in Dallas area, I should have mentioned on thing yesterday, I will have the exact date, probably next Saturday, the 28th, that we're going to have a meetup at one of the parks or the lake area. I'm going to solidify it Thursday and meet and greet, have some fun, bring the kids, maybe talk. We do whatever, hug each other. Hello, good night seeing you. We can talk about conspiracies or whatever. We can do whatever, but we're going to meet for the first time. We've been planning this forever, and now we're going to make it happen, and we're going to do that. So there's the things that I will say from that. So again, I love each and every one of you. I do. And to all of you, if we missed Happy Father's Day to you, or this past weekend, and we will say Happy Father's Day. And if you're a mom and you act both roles, then don't get a stepdad or something. Let them get some manpower. Anyway, I'm just saying it. But again, I love each and every one of you. And hopefully we got 10 of these left that 10 of you all will find it in your hearts to support. Get your Illuminous. You can find it on the website too. It'll be a little more because we'll ship it out. But I was just hoping to talk to some of you personally and, just talk to you. So anyway, you can find this. There's our cash out is in the link as well in the description and everything else, and pretty much. But regardless, I love what I do. I love you guys, and we're working on some bigger things stuff too and all of that. But Nibiru, don't let it get you down. Learn, grow from it, right? Drink the water of knowledge, and then you begin the process. And if you hadn't already, get your copy of the Book of Sacred Secrets. That's going to help you. That's going to give you all the alignment stuff that you need. It's back up. I took it down. People were texting, oh, when can I get it again? And I put it back up. So, but it's on truthversusauthority.store, and you can download it. And it is time for you to learn all this magnetic stuff. You need to learn it. You've got to learn this stuff so that you'll understand more about Nibiru. And you can get your copy of the Book of Sacred Secrets right now. And if it wasn't for the Nibiru stuff, I wouldn't have put it back up, because I think it's stuff people need to know. And you need to know this, and it'll help prepare you. And being prepared is the greatest part of it all, because you're not going to worry. You're going to flourish. You're going to grow in more divine. You're going to be more in the time that people not knowing that it's alignment, it's ancestral alignment for you to grow in some cases, right? But be prepared, because they're not bringing a planet in here to destroy stuff on purpose. They just got to come back and like pull up, and when they pull up is some stuff that happens. With that being said, all right, good night, you all. And again, we're getting ready to meet each other. I can't wait, and all of that stuff. And again, I love you. See y'all tomorrow, 8 o'clock. I know we haven't been going on Wednesdays, but make sure you come tomorrow. Like this video, share it as well, so that algorithm could put it out there and stuff. And I will see you tomorrow. All right, Sonia says, handsome Roderick. Thank you. I finally got a compliment. I'm a single man. I don't get nobody saying, hey, beautiful, but I do plan on dating in the next. I was just telling a friend of mine, I said, this year, I'm getting ready to get back out and date. I just haven't been doing it. I've been really concentrating on a lot of stuff, but I do. Somebody look at and say, hey, baby, how you doing? Hey, baby, whatever, but I am. And but I am single, and it's fine. But relationship is good. If you're in a good relationship, man, hug it, kiss it, love it. And pretty much. Anyway, see y'all tomorrow. Let's do it. 8 o'clock Central.
Welcome, Truth Seeker. You are no longer asleep. I am Luminous, the Owl of Truth. The world is blind, but you have opened your eyes. Welcome to the fire of esoteric knowledge and truth. You are now one of the awakened. You are now luminous. Welcome to the rebellion. Welcome to Truth versus Authority.